Hello, this is Todd Luck, and Titan Comics has accomplished something that Marvel couldn't. They published a King Conan story by Jason Aaron without losing the license. This is a review of The Savage Sword of Conan, number 5 by Titan Comics. This is out right now at your comic retailers, and you can get it digitally on Amazon/Comixology. And for those of you who are wondering, yes, they are collecting them in trade paperbacks. I saw solicitations for the collections. They're going to be 3 issues apiece, and the first one is coming out later this month. For those who don't know, Savage Sword of Conan is now a 64-page black and white magazine. It retails for $6.99, comes out bi-monthly from Titan Comics, and like Titan's other Conan titles, it is mature readers, so it may have a higher level of violence and nudity. And for those who don't know, Jason Aaron did have the dubious honor a couple years ago of writing the last solo Conan miniseries for Marvel, and that was a King Conan miniseries. There was some controversy about this miniseries, but I don't think it had anything to do with Marvel losing the license. There was already trouble with the line. They'd already canceled all the titles and were just putting this out. So I think Jason Aaron probably didn't contribute to Marvel losing the license. He actually turned out to be a really good Conan writer, as we'll talk about in a minute. But let's start with this gorgeous Joe Jusko cover that is the main cover for issue 5. So as usual, it's absolutely gorgeous. You know, it's rendered beautifully, composed beautifully. You know, the expressions on the characters' faces are wonderful. This poor woman who's in this monster's mouth. But the problem is I don't have any context to what this image is supposed to be about. Maybe Conan is trying to examine this dinosaur's teeth or something. Maybe he's a dentist. You know, he was all things in his day, right? Maybe one of them was dentist and we just didn't know about it. I'm kidding, but it is just a very weird cover because it has nothing to do with the interior. The variant cover is by Alex Horley and is actually related to the main story and does have King Conan in it, so that makes a lot of sense. I'm not saying it's better or worse than the Jusko cover. I think they're both fantastic in different ways, but I think this would have made a lot more sense for a main cover since it is related to the interiors like all the other main covers have been for this magazine so far. So looking at the interiors, I would say that they printed perfectly. In the past, they've had some issues with not enough black ink getting on the page, but I didn't see that again this issue. Last issue printed fine, this issue printed fine. Once is a coincidence, twice is a pattern. I'm just going to say that they have licked those problems with this magazine, and it is now printing absolutely beautifully. And just as a quick side note, the hardcover omnibuses collecting the old issues of Savage Sword from Marvel have come out, and I've seen the video reviews of those, and they look like they printed absolutely fine. This is a reprinting of the collections that Marvel did a couple years ago. They're just the exact same hardcover, just with Titan Comics logo on it, and they look like they printed just fine once again. All right, so back to this issue. The main story is around 50 pages, and it is written by Jason Aaron. And Jason Aaron is probably best known at this point maybe for his work on Thor, which somehow I've not read yet. He did do Conan back at Marvel. He actually wrote the first issue of Conan the Barbarian when they got the license back a few years ago. This was the first comic they put out, and you can look at my review of it. I didn't think it was very good. And the strange thing, though, after I did that review, I later picked up the other issues. The second issue greatly improved. And by that third issue, Jason Aaron was doing really great Conan stories. He was writing stories that were interesting and innovative and fresh, the type of stuff I want to see with the character. Now, sometimes he would zig or I would zag in his stories, but that's just natural, right? I'm never going to agree with every single thing a writer does in their run. I read his 12-issue run on Conan the Barbarian, and unfortunately I haven't gotten a chance to read anything of his King Conan miniseries other than the first issue, but I do look forward to reading all of that at some point. But what I will say about this new King Conan story in Savage Sword #5 is that it is unequivocally the best thing that I have ever read of Conan by Jason Aaron. And I am not going to spoil this for you. I'm just going to say it involves King Conan hunting a witch. And I'm just going to let you guys discover this amazing story that really blew me away. But as you can see from the interiors here, it is not just a writing on this story that is amazing. They have Jeff Isherwood as the artist. Isherwood did some fantastic artwork for Marvel. He worked on several of the Conan titles, including King Conan, including doing this splash page, which is my favorite image of Thothamon ever. But I gotta tell you, his artwork in this new Savage Sword issue is the best I have ever seen from this man. It is amazing. This is some of the best artwork that Titan Comics has ever put out of Conan. Not only is the rendering and the layout, the composition, all of that stuff is fantastic. The design work is top notch. All of these characters actually look cool and interesting. But it's also the level of visual storytelling. Look at this crowd scene. Look at all of these characters' faces, what they're wearing, the expression on their face. All of this stuff really tells you a story about them, right? I just sat there and I could picture, what each of them did for a living and what their lives were like. And it was just so amazing to see that much thought and detail put into just a scene of a crowd. And look at this row of severed heads. Look at how each of these heads tells you a story about the woman who was executed, how old they were. It tells you how they faced their execution by the expression on their face. Did they gasp in horror? Did they take it with stoic resolve? And so this is a perfect melding of story and art. And I'm not even showing you the best parts. Again, you're going to have to pick this up. This is a fantastic comic, probably the best story I've seen Titan Comics put out so far of Conan. And I got to tell you, the depth in here and the complexity of what's going on is equal to a really good Cole story, which is, of course, right up my alley because I love Cole. This story perfectly encapsulates what I was talking about in my Cole movie review about the point of a barbarian hero. They're outsiders who can see the excesses and hypocrisies of civilization so they can stand against them. In a world where we see injustices and atrocities constantly being committed in the name of civilization, you better believe most people will side with barbarism all day long. And that is exactly what this story is about. And it does it in such an absolutely beautiful way. In fact, it absolutely captured how I'm feeling right now about what's going on in this country and what's going on in the world. And I just never expected to see that in a Conan story. I'm sure it was written many months ago, but it's just so well written. It really does resonate with what's going on right now. And I'm just very glad that Titan Comics found a story this strong to close out their first year on Savage Sword. It is a two-part story. And even though it ran about 50 pages this issue, you will get a part 2 in issue 6. There is a little bit more in this issue. There is a 2-page scene from Jim Zub and Robert De La Torre. It's short, but it's fine. And then there's an 8-page backup story by Michael Kage and Dan Parsons of Young Conan, and it's also good. There's also pinups. Some of them worked out better than others, but there's some really good ones in here. But really, the main draw here is the main story. And I would say that this is the best issue of Conan that they've put out so far in a really, really good run. Now, the issue isn't perfect. There's still some mistakes. So, for instance, on the back cover, there is a teaser for next issue. And for some reason, that teaser has weird random spaces like you see on this last line where it says it closes out the first year. And there is a mistake in the main story. I can't show you the dialogue without spoiling it, but I will say that there is a character who is telling someone that what they've just done does not make up for their past actions. And instead of saying make up, they accidentally say much up. But those are very minor little mistakes and very common. Again, it happens to everyone from the biggest publisher to the smallest. And overall, this is a really, really amazing magazine. And so with this issue, I think I can safely say that this is just a really good magazine and that any issue I pick up after this is probably going to be good. I have full confidence in them putting out a really good Savage Sword of Conan run here, but I'm still going to do a review of issue 6 when it comes out in a couple months. But I've got plenty of other videos coming, so like and subscribe for more videos. And until next time, maybe we can get a story about this cover. We can do a mini series, call it Conan Dinosaur Dentist. See ya.